So I really enjoyed doing that video about selection criteria on vocation. So I thought I'd do a longer video on the rest of it. I think it's also good for my abilities to articulate what I feel about this, because the blog is a tactic to get those thoughts down in words, but I need to be able to say it. I need to be able to coherently get it together in my head to say it. Because you submit writing, but you also have interviews. And if I'm just like, if I can't say anything, it's going to be a problem. Okay, so I did vocation, part A. Part B, ministry within the Church of England. Candidates should show an understanding of their own tradition within the Church of England, an awareness of the diversity of traditions and practice, and a commitment to learn from and work generously with difference. Oh, I love this. So, I started in the Church of England because I grew up in a village, and the primary school I went to was Church of England. So I learnt the grace, and I did Lord's Prayer, and we went to various services. And I've grown, the more I've learned about the Church of England, the more I've grown to love it, really. The whole thing about the diversity of practices, that's like my number one big thing. Very much enjoy the fact that you can find your worship style. I think it's the one of the major things about Anglicanism is it encourages argument, and that's a really daft way of putting it, but religion shouldn't be a stuck, fast thing, because faith is an ongoing relationship, right? Therefore, you want to, it's a very Jewish idea to argue with your faith, to shout at your sacred text, like, why don't you make sense? And work through it. And it's useful to do that with other people, and especially other people who have different opinions, because it's very important to get different perspectives on important matters of faith, because just inside your own head and your own worldview, you don't know everything. So Anglicanism is a way that we can share our knowledge from a theological point of view and ethical point of view, I suppose. But also sharing worship style is incredible, because I'm a really weird young person in that, well, a religious young person anyway, in that I cannot stand charismatic worship. Oh, no, see, the way I think about it is I don't enjoy rock concerts, or generally going to things where the music and the performance, the musical performance is the main thing. I like going to theatre and other types of entertainment. The other thing in that I cannot connect in a worshipful way with music done in that way, because it's not entertainment. I can't connect with worship that's entertainment, because that's a separate thing in my head. I might explain this in any comprehensible way. Essentially, okay, so I went to HTB, not to a Eucharist service. They do Eucharist services? I presume they do. But to an evening service, like a youth-orientated one. And to me, right, and I'm not trying to be offensive, so I will try and put this in non-judgmental terms. To me, my experience was that we sang for about half an hour, going through different worship songs off screens. And I felt like I only just got the hang of a tune, and we moved on to the next one. And it was quite tough on the voice. I remember thinking, when are we going to stop singing? Because I love a good sing song, don't get me wrong, but it was starting to go on and on and on a bit. And then we sat down on cushions. I was with somebody who was a regular, so he was like, we'll sit by the wall. And I was like, what? When we first went in, he was like, we'll go over the wall. And then I realised it's because if you're sitting in the middle, you don't have any back support. And then we sat on cushions, and I can't remember exactly everything, but there was a sermon that was very matey, very again in that sort of entertainment style, almost like half stand-up gig, really. That was the style that I felt I got off it. And then at some other point, we had healing sessions. People were asked if they want to be prayed for and touched, like putting your hands on each other's shoulders and healing in that way. They can come forward and do that. I mean, my overall impression was half the time I was bored. The sermon, I didn't feel like I was looking to this man for wisdom. Because of his style was so casual and so matey and jokey. I couldn't take what he was saying seriously. And then, yeah, the singing just drove on and on. Not very quickly. That's not true. That's unfair. But eventually, I got so bored of it. I wasn't thinking about the words. I wasn't using it in any sort of worship. And I suppose, ultimately, my problem is that it's very hard to not connect that sort of worship style with conservative views, which I don't agree with at all. So, of course... I'm going to change hands. So, of course, what was I thinking? Conservative views... Things like healing. I was terrified that people were going up there to be healed of things like being LGBT and stuff. And that's just not healthy, in my opinion. So, yeah, that kept on going around. Anyway, so I'm going on and on. They should be able to speak of the distinctiveness of ordained ministry within the Church of England and what it means to exercise public ministry. Oh, this is terrifying. What it means to exercise public ministry. You suddenly realise, oh my god, I'm going to be like a public figure. If I become a priest, the minute you got that dog collar on, you represent the church. And people get in trouble, and rightly so, for saying things that don't represent what the church thinks, as if they were... It's awful, isn't it, to say that someone's personal opinion shouldn't be expressed. But, sometimes that's true. If you're in a professional capacity, they can have their personal opinions, and they can talk about it in their private lives. But when you're representing an institution that has so much weight behind it, as the Church of England. I mean, they've got bishops in the House of Lords, for example. There's a lot involved. Oh, it's terrifying. The distinctiveness of ordained ministry within the Church of England. Everyone thinks that I'm going to turn up like Geraldine from The Vicar of Dibley. Or, so the classic thing that comes to mind with ordained Church of England is the parish priest in the rural village, or the harassed urban priest that has 3 congregation members and is trying to connect with the youth. And from the small amount of research I have done, that is just so much more than that, I'm really drawn to chaplaincy, and that's a beautiful thing to see, because that's so Church of England. So just get in there, be part of the community, practice the faith and be the light of the world from shoulder to shoulder. They should be able to reflect on changes in contemporary society and implications for ministry. That's sort of harking back to what I was just saying about public opinion, publicly vocalizing your opinion. The implications of changing contemporary society is that if you agree with changing contemporary society, but the church is taking its sweet time in catching up with that, yeah, it'll be difficult. I mean, I have opinions on theatre, and I keep that to myself, especially when I'm in a professional capacity. I mean, everyone's got things about their job and their industry that they don't like, or their boss or their company. You have a lot more weight as a priest, really. Religious matters matter to people. Okay, that got depressing. Section C. Spirituality. Candidates should show evidence of a commitment to spiritual discipline which involves individual and corporate prayer and worship. Now, I think one of the things that came out of this conversation I had with my rector about not being able to articulate my emotions was also I find myself fighting my cultural assumptions about spirituality. The minute I start talking about God and things that are, to a lot of people, superstition, I am very aware of how an atheist would be listening to me. And the reason I think about that is because, more people don't believe in God than do these days in England. And so having a commitment to spiritual discipline immediately worries me because I get this culturally influenced image of someone crazy, I suppose. How awful is that? I've got this cultural assumption that being spiritual is associated with mental illness. But I do have a commitment to spiritual discipline. I've been trying. I put in a blog post about the things I'm putting into place in my life, trying to encourage myself to pray. And I do involve myself in corporate prayer and worship, as well as individual. I'm better at corporate than I am individual. They should be committed to a developing pattern of disciplined prayer, Bible study, and the regular receiving of Holy Communion. Well, tick, and Bible study. I've never really done Bible study, so that I need to work on. Fair enough. I'm hoping to read it in a year. Did I say that on the blog post somewhere? Swapping hands. Starting in January, but I don't know how much that'll be Bible study, just Bible reading. Okay, I'll flag that at my next meeting. They should be able to show how they discern God's activity in their life. Again, immediately my brain goes, crazy person. But of course God's had an effect in my life. God's activity. I mean, my whole life has been one upward curve of step by step moving in a greater relationship with God. That's, if you look at the shape of it, if you look at my faith history, it's just one thing after another. So I have discerned that. How their spiritual practice may be changed over time and how it is changing them. Yeah, read the faith history. They should be able to reflect on how engagement with the world and others both affects and is affected by their practice of prayer. Again, this is the power of prayer is very difficult for me as a concept. Really. Because much I'm in my life and in my experience of God is the master of subtlety. And the minute you start claiming bigger things as direct action by God, but then of course, why do you pray for people then if you think he's not going to do anything about it? This is the thing. What is the power of prayer? Okay, I need to look into that. Okay, good. This is helpful. Well, this is good. Their spiritual practice should be able to sustain and energize them in daily life and future ministry. Yeah, I need to work on that. I want to get to a place where that's the centre and everything goes back into a prayerful place. Okay, I've been talking for ages now and I'm only on C. We've got to get to I. Okay, let's speed through. Criterion D, personality and character. Oh, this one I'm pretty confident on, really. This is the one that you think about most at first. You think, what kind of person should a priest be? Sufficiently self-aware, mature and stable to show that they are able to sustain the demanding role of an ordained minister. I am quite self-aware. Again, the articulation of that, the description of that is where I need to work on. But mature and stable, yeah. I've always been precocious. I've always been mature for my age. And stable, yeah. I don't know what to say to that, really. It is a demanding role. An ordained minister is a demanding role. But I don't know how many times I can refer back to the state management thing. But state management definitely has been a training ground, certainly in this section of personality and character. And the next one, relationships. Let's see. So, change in pressure in a balanced and flexible way. Manage stress. Tick, stay management. Backstage with actors and flying scenery and deadlines and 14, 15-hour days and people of integrity. Oh, yeah. I think I'm definitely someone of integrity. I'm always the person saying, but we can't do that, that's not right. And other people going, but that's better for us. And I'm like, but that's not right. Generate trust and display honesty. I'm far too open for my own good. And generate trust. You'd have to ask other people whether they trust me, really. Cope with difficult life experiences. I wrote about this, didn't I? I don't know if I've had... Oh, no, I wrote about it in my journal. Not in the blog post. Getting confused now. I don't feel like I've had difficult life experiences. How they reflected upon them and incorporate them into their life and understanding. Well, I suppose I reflected on them by the fact that... And incorporated them by the fact that I don't look back and see difficult life experiences. I just see my life experiences that have made me who I am. Relationships. Candidates should show the capacity to build healthy professional, personal, and pastoral relationships. Oh yes, this section talks about pastoral relationships, and I don't know how I can demonstrate or show a capacity to create pastoral relationships. In that, I suppose I can be quite pastoral towards my cast. Hadn't thought of that. Okay, moot point. Need for ability to establish and sustain appropriate boundaries. Yeah, I think I need to work on that. I think I've talked about how I've changed my perception or my awareness of the way other people perceive me. And that's an ongoing thing. I'm continuing to improve that because I think sometimes I'm operating with the boundaries and then realise that my behaviour isn't reflecting that, or people aren't perceiving it to reflect that. Good interpersonal skills, willingness to learn from experience, and commitment to building inclusive relationships within diversity. I go to St James's Piccadilly. When it comes to inclusive relationships within diversity, tick. Show the potential to exercise effective pastoral care. Again, part of being a stay manager is being the person that your cast can come to talk about anything, including, confidentiality. Candidates, now this, I'm not even going to start on this. Candidates must be willing to live within discipline of issues in human sexuality. Yeah, that's going to be an issue. We're gonna have to talk through that. We're gonna have to talk through, I don't know if there's any out bisexual priests. There's lesbians and gay ones. But do you think there's any bisexual ones? Maybe I'll ask Google. Because obviously somewhere I read that the Church of England's approach to bisexuality is basically, it's fine. You can be chaste with women and marry a man. No. Right. Yeah, I'm not going to get into it. F. We're flying through them now. Fantastic. Leadership and collaboration. Ability to offer leadership in the church community. Offer an example of faith and discipleship, which is inspiring to others and witnesses to the servanthood of Christ. Identify and nurturing the gifts of others. Collaborate effectively. Identify their own leadership style. Flexible and adaptable in leadership. Ability to guide and shape the life of the church community in its mission in the world. I've always been fuzzy on my abilities as a leader. Really. Oh, swap hands. Abilities as a leader, yes. Redashed. Yep. I see the potential in myself to be a leader, and I think people always have assumed that I've got leadership qualities because I'm confident and bright and... But, my leadership style is not one of those leaders that everyone likes. I have not experienced being universally liked. My leadership style is more direct and efficient, which not a lot of people, a proportion of people generally take personally. And I need to work on my leadership style, incorporating more consideration in the way that I lead. I've got a lot of energy and focus, but leadership involves refining energy and having a bigger picture. So I'd have to look into what it means, to lead in a church from a church point of view. I can collaborate though. And I like the idea of offering an example of faith and discipleship which is inspiring to others. That I can do. That's the God working subtly thing again. Category G, third from the end. Faith. Every time I go through these, I do start to say less and less on each one. And I probably should do them in a different order at some point, just so I can say more about the end ones than I do the first one. Though I don't know if they're probably in an order of importance. Yeah, vocation, ministry, spirituality. Yeah, okay. Faith. You gotta have faith, faith, faith. Oh dear. I blame my mother. Candidates should show an understanding of the Christian faith and a desire to deepen their understanding. Yes, I have an understanding of the Christian faith and a desire to deepen my understanding. I will very happily acknowledge that deepening your understanding of the Christian faith is basically what a Christian life should be. Like, it's a lifelong thing. Christianity is a relationship with God through Christ. So if you want to get to know Christ, think about how much you know somebody. Getting to know somebody does take a lifetime. And often you don't get all the way there. So getting to know Christ, getting to know God, that's going to take longer than a lifetime. They should demonstrate personal commitment to Christ. Christ is... I had this thing, I don't know whether I want to admit it or not. It's one of these superstitious things that I worry about people thinking I'm crazy for. Occasionally, maybe around the Eucharist or sometimes when I'm having a bad time, it does sound crazy in my head, but I'm going to say it, feel the presence of Christ as a person just behind my shoulder with their hand on my shoulder. Several times. Last time it happened, I was at work and I thought it was one of the people I work with. And then I calmed down and I looked behind me and no one was there. Oh, I sound like I'm telling a ghost story. Oh, see, this is the awkwardness I was talking about. Really difficult to get over. But I can only tell you what I felt, what I thought, what I experienced. Whether that was just my mind playing tricks or not, who can say? I get very iffy about ghost stories and angels. I'm all over the place about it, really. So anyway, sorry, yes, the point of this, personal commitment to Christ. So Christ is my buddy. I've inherited from going to St. James's, I've inherited an aversion to making Christ king and Lord and master. Christ is leader in a servant of the people kind of way. Like, that's part of his bloody point. Sorry for swearing. So you can raise up a leader and admire them, but they're still your friend. Like, my rector's a great example. She's so wise and knowledgeable and good at what she does and a good leader. But she's still, like, I forget how big a deal she is sometimes, in the wider church and public arena, because she's just my mate. She's just the one I can go to about anything on a one-to-one level. She'll be at my level. It's not she'll come down, as I was about to say. She won't come down to my level. She's at my level. And she's been put in a power of authority because we trust her. And so that sort of relationship is what I have, I think, with Christ. I have absolute faith and trust in Christ and, God as in charge, but Christ is at my level, That's my personal commitment to Christ in a roundabout fashion. Mature, robust faith that shapes their life and work. Working on it. That's an important thing to me, to shape my life around my faith, or to have my faith shape my life. Mature and robust. How does this criteria work for someone who's a new convert then? If they've got an immature faith. Anyway, right, stop looking at myself in the viewfinder. Ability to reflect critically on their faith. Refer back to my thing earlier about arguing with what you believe. Make connections between faith and contemporary life. That seems really obvious to me. Why would you need to connect faith with contemporary life? Faith isn't some old thing that you've inherited that only Moses and Jeremiah experienced. Faith is a living thing. Connect it with contemporary life. My faith is a trust in God, and God is at the centre of all things. So God is at the centre of contemporary life. Having a faith in God is how I live my life, because I live in the world and God is in the world. Oh, this is really difficult. Demonstrate a capacity to communicate their faith engagingly and effectively. Ha! Am I doing it engagingly and effectively? Do tell me in the comments. Again, this is. I'm very bad at the extempore, at the off the cuff. That is why I'm trying to vlog. That is why I'm trying to. Oh, I've been talking for almost half an hour. Okay, carry on, George. H. Oh, one more to go. Mission in evangelism. Okay, so I have a real problem with this paragraph, because the minute you say mission to me, I imagine Jehovah's Witnesses. I imagine Bible bashers in the streets shouting about how God loves you, but they sound really angry about it. And it's going back to that thing I associated with those charismatic movements that have very conservative views. And I don't want to have mission to push it into people's faces and force people to convert and assume that if they're not converted, they're not saved. Again, I've put this in my Christianity thing. I'm inclusivist. Do look up what that is, because I cannot stand. It doesn't make sense to me, if you believe in the God of Jesus Christ, to have a exclusivist view. Roman Catholics. There's a lot I have a problem with the not with Catholics, but with the official dogma of the Roman Catholic Church. I have problems with the official dogma of the Church of England, but less so. What was I saying? Mission, yes. I don't want to try and convert people. Just saying it makes me want to just throw something. But then, of course, this paragraph should be able to articulate the good news of the kingdom. Oh, that sounds so like the Baptist pastors that shout about Muslims and refugees and homosexuals. I don't like that language. The association is just so negative. But yeah, I need to demonstrate, as a candidate hoping to be put forward, I should demonstrate a personal commitment to mission that is reflected in thought, prayer, and action. That doesn't sound too bad, I suppose. show a wide and inclusive understanding of mission and the strategic issues and opportunities within contemporary culture. Nope. I mean, your main issue in contemporary culture is people don't believe in God, but that's a big one to start with. So I need to acquire a wide and inclusive understanding of mission and the strategic issues and opportunities within culture. Oh, no, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Candidates should be able to articulate the good news of the kingdom appropriately in differing contexts and speak of Jesus Christ in a way that is exciting, accessible, and attractive. I don't think most of the priests of the Church of England can be exciting, accessible, and attractive. How'd they get through? But yeah, I'm very lucky in that I can learn from the best. Our preaching team, our clergy, are some of the wisest sermons. Please look up the sermons of St James Piccadilly on the website, because they are just incredible. And I do not think I'd ever be able to do that. But that's a very pessimistic view. Maybe it should be more optimistic. They should enable others to develop their vocations as witnesses of the good news. Show potential as leaders of the mission. Can I do it subtly? Please. Please, can I do it subtly? Please, can I be an example? Can my mission, can my style of mission be just show an example that, oh yeah, so for example, I saw today, oh my goodness, I try and not just surround myself in a bubble of feedback loop, in that I follow quite a few YouTube channels, and there's this one that's very popular, and it's an atheist, and she today was talking about the Paris situation and how she was upset that people on Twitter had told her off for being Islamophobic. And her point was she's not got a problem with Muslims, she's got a problem with a violent religion. And to her, Christianity and Islam are violent religions. And I just look at that and I think, you just not understood it at all, have you? I don't know what you think Christianity and Islam are, but you genuinely don't have an understanding of them, as I recognise them. Not that I know much about Islam. But what was my point? If you're fighting against something like that, if you're trying to show that, oh, it's alright, cat. Cat's really worried by that noise. Whatever that is. Again, what was my point? If you're fighting against that, I don't think it's my place. I'm not the person who's going to have a conversation with her that's going to convince her otherwise. I'm just going to live my life and live a Christianity as I view it. And engage with people on a one-on-one level and show them my life and not get angry at them when they have a problem with it. Just try and explain myself, you know. Oh, goodness gracious, people. 33.5 minutes in and I am at the end. Criterion I. Quality of mind. I'm quite clever, I suppose. Intellectual. What other words are in here? Academic. Yeah, I can do that. I can do that. To be honest with you, know, a good evidence of that would be, I'll finish soon, I promise. The fact that I went to a vocational college, I went to a practical course, and I was one of the few people who did a decent academic essay for her dissertation. Like, most teachers didn't know what to do with it, because they're all ex-professionals in theatre, rather than lecturers who have been in academia. So, I have no problem with that last one. So, that's a terrible angle. I've got to learn to do this better. That is me going through the summary of the criteria for selection for ordained ministry in the Church of England. How do I feel about it overall? I don't know how I'm going to show all this. Keep on saying candidates should show this and provide evidence of that. I don't know if I can. But I think, whether I can show the evidence or not, I think that I'm... I really need to put this down. Got a lot of it in there. I think I've got a lot of it in there, and I think I've got a willingness to pick up almost everything else. You know, I understand the importance of mission. There's a lot in there about mission. In the Bible, about mission. I've always known that issues in human sexuality is going to be a point of contention. But yeah, I think I've got what it takes. I think I can tick these boxes. Just have to evidence it. Well done for getting to the end, if you have. Other vlogs will be shorter. Okay. Now I've got to go write this down and somehow turn 36 minutes into something comprehensible for my poor rector when I go back to her with this homework.